we can call our meeting to order and ask that the roll be checked.
Absolutely. Devine?
Yes?
Boyle is excused. Davis?
Yes.
Miller?
Here.
Robinson Walker?
Here.
Stack?
Here.
Thompson?
Here.
And Lair?
Here.
So as I mentioned informally a little earlier, this is our kind of new season based upon the board's timetable. Some people left us because their time was up as of the end of June, and we have 3 new members now that have been interviewed and selected to join us. And I'd like to have Gary, first of all, say a few words about what prompted him to nominate, and here he is. So.
Well, we're as I mentioned, we're not new. We're 3 years here already in Rossmore, and I always was very active in a gym, and we're very happy to have this gymnasium here. And we're very active in the gym. We probably take 2 classes a day over there every day. And being part of a community as Rossmore, I thought I ought to step in, volunteer where I could.
Thank you for that. Cynthia, a few words from you, if you would be.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to be here and offer whatever support I can. I love the gym, and my partner loves the pool. And I just think after 2 years of retirement, I was ready to jump in and give back a little bit in whatever ways possible. And this is one of my interests because I love it so much. So I thought, why not?
Timing was perfect. So I know Joan Boyle, but others here know her too. She's involved in lots of activities and has been since she's here. And Brian, you might remember she helped you with one of your stroke analysis workshops, I think.
Yeah, she did.
You say a word about that?
Just a word about Joan or a word
About Joni, yeah.
She's excited about the fitness committee, has a lot of good ideas, things she wants to see in services it rendered. She's, as far as I'm concerned, she's been a great assistant for me, quick on the uptake, willing to dive in, and she's also been a great recruiter for people, just to kind of identify people that need a little help and we work with them.
Yeah, we can allow her to say a few words at the next meeting, assuming she's here.
Yeah.
But let me just say before we go any further, the interviewing process is very interesting in that lots of people applied. I think we had papers from 12 people. 2 of them withdrew closer to the time of the interviews. I don't know the reasons, but that's not important. But a lot of keen people with good experiences and want to be dedicated to contribute, as you've heard from these 2. But it's a little difficult for the interviewers because we've got to try and balance up to be sure that someone's in the aquatics area and not everybody is just a gym occupant. I won't say gym rat, but gym occupant. Sometimes they call themselves gym rats. And then I think we wanted to get a balance of gender too, so that we didn't finish up being a completely female committee with me, the only oddball here. So it's not easy to just, it's not the favorite one or the most loud spoken that necessarily is going to be able to fit the nature of the kind of things we deal with and the kind of atmosphere that we've created, supportive and moving in some new directions and so on. We'll talk more about that later. So I found that it wasn't an easy thing to do. And Carol helped with the interviews there too. So it's a big responsibility, and we're very happy to be able to invite the 3 of you to join. And I know a little bit about Joni because she's very active in the Trails Club, and so that's where I first got to know her before reading some other things about her. So on the agenda, if you've got it here, we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting. And I wasn't here for that meeting, but I've read the minutes very carefully. Are there any questions or misquotes or anything you want to have corrected in those minutes before they're considered? None? No additions either? Okay. Well, hearing none, we can move that they be accepted as is. And I want to say that those minutes are important, of course, because in any meeting group, that's where your history is. And if you want to look back on when did we first talk about that, you go into the minutes to confirm all those kinds of things that could arise. And the other thing is that maybe some of you don't know this, but somebody from the committee goes to the board of RWC at their next meeting to give a verbal kind of overview of what was discussed at the meeting, so that they're in sync with what we do without having to go and read the minutes. So they're important, and I'm glad that Deborah stepped up today and is going to take notes for the minutes. And so the next item on the agenda is to elect a vice chair. And Deborah has been kind enough to quote some of the responsibilities because they're the same as mine. It's organizing and calling together and so on. And I was very happy that when my travel plans were abruptly changed by the airline, putting us on a different date, that one of our members just stepped right up and didn't hesitate and followed the procedure, and everything went in order. But I'd like to know if anybody is willing to nominate themselves or somebody else on the committee to function as the vice chair.
Can I nominate anybody?
Yes, you can.
If she will accept, I will nominate Cynthia to be vice chair.
Do you have a second for that nomination?
Could we hear from? Could we hear from Deborah? You were gonna.
Yeah, sure, I can read it,
Job
yes. So did you want to have an overview of the responsibilities?
Yes.
Absolutely. So when the chair is unavailable to support a meeting, basically what you would do is work with Ann Matola here in developing the agenda to get 2 weeks prior and make sure everything runs smoothly during the meeting. So you call the meeting to order. You make sure all the line items on the agenda are addressed. You keep within the room reservation timeframe of an hour and a half, and then you call adjournment time. Otherwise, you allow it to run as normal as you would today. There's nothing.
Is it common for someone that's brand new to be an officer?
I meant to say that it's not impossible for a new person to become a vice chair or secretary. I came in as a new member and opted, I'm not sure how wisely, to accept the chair responsibility. And with the cooperation of everybody else, we got through the year quite comfortably. Despite the fact that some people here are very difficult to work with. People
We have
and now we got Kelsey
Anna Matola and
Clymer along with
myself
Jackie. No,
here. And you just show up and start the meeting and we'll help you. It's really just to fill the shoes in to get the meeting run.
She's
You don't
shooting
have to
daggers
do-
at
I
me.
know.
Are there any further nominations to be considered for the vice chair? Hearing none, by acclamation, we can compliment you and thank you for accepting that responsibility. And I'm sure that you will not be overbearing. I will do my best to be attentive and be here on a regular basis.
Thank you for your
But
trust.
one never knows.
And you can come to my office anytime you want and kind of do a little one-on-one.
It's not difficult to be the vice chair. It really isn't.
Promise.
You can do it.
And moving along on the agenda, now we'd like to select a secretary, preferably by self-nomination, but in the event that nobody nominates, let's think about that for a moment. It's a recording thing, and I'm sure many of you have done that in other assignments in your life. As I said earlier, it is important because that becomes our historical frame of reference, but it isn't that difficult. Is there anybody that would like to self-nominate at this time?
If
Don't
anyone,
rush in. We have
yeah,
a lot
no,
of
if
time.
anyone's hesitant, I do a one-on-one with the secretary. All you have to do is basically write down for each line item what was spoken, who was here in the meeting. And you can send it to me in the body of an email or a Word document. You don't have to use our Assembly and learn all of that extra stuff. It's within 3 to 4 days after the meeting transpires. You just email it to me after Barry and Ann Matola have reviewed the minutes of what you've taken. So, and again, whoever wants to be secretary, you and I sit down together and I kind of give you a sample and how to do it, so you're not left. And it really is just coming here, writing down, okay, so everyone was here, and this motion was made by Barry and seconded by Brian, and everybody said yes. That's it. That's really it.
Catherine, I know you're very experienced in these kinds of things.
Not as
But-
big
but-
secretary.
No, you're always the executive, I'm sure.
Well, I was lucky enough and am lucky enough, yeah, so I do not consider this a strength, otherwise I would volunteer.
Yeah, I don't know if it's strength, but I could do it with her help.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Well, thank you, that's very nice. Yeah, very nice indeed. So again, are there any further nominations? Anybody else like to self-nominate, perhaps? Hearing none, thank you very much for doing that, and compliments on your
Yay.
appointment.
But you're gonna help me.
Yes,
I'll see you back next week.
Absolutely.
Can I make a request?
Yes,
Everybody needs to speak up. Because some of us down here, me, are hard of hearing. So like, Catherine, I didn't hear anything you said.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
Thank you
okay.
for the
It's-
reminder.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I just want to add before we move on, and thank you for that advice, we need it. I accepted another term as chair. It's not because I'm older than the Dalai Lama. It's because I felt that this group was a very supportive group and I could continue. And we were beginning to do some things and develop a philosophy about what we do and what our aims are in our programs. And that reflects itself in what's happening with the Wall of Fame down there that we'll talk about a little bit later. Addressing not just those that have been doing exercise for 35 and 40 years, but nurturing those who haven't had the opportunity or the know-how or the willingness to do into a program, and then seeing their progress and how dedicated they are and recognizing that so that it becomes encouraging for a newcomer, particularly a new person to the community, as opposed to Don Faldo, who's down there and he's all muscles and you think, well, I can't be like him. But maybe somebody that had problems with mobility or other difficulties and got into a program and got some counseling and some guidance and made great improvements and speaks about that would be the kind of person we'd like to endorse to encourage others to do the same thing. So, anybody else is anybody on the Zoom for a member forum?
So there are no speakers in person, and I don't see anyone with hands raised for online. So that concludes the member forum unless I've spoken too soon. No. So that concludes the member forum portion.
Okay. So this is the time that I'm making a statement as chair. And I've talked a little bit about the importance that I felt in interviewing candidates. But I want to talk about something in case you didn't have time to read the newspaper today or yesterday. Some of our employees got honorable mentions in who's the most favored employee that works in the system here. And of course, people at the gym get a lot of attention with residents, as do reservations and others I'm sure you can talk about. And in particular, Patty Lewis, who's the lady with the spectacles on the counter there, and we've always got a smile, got more nominations to be the most favored person than anybody. And so we can be very proud of that and compliment her when we see her. And Jack is telling me that the staff has been complimenting her already, having seen that. And as well as that, we've got good mentions from Bob Huff, particularly with his work in the Aquatics area, Terry Hummel, Nora Pelota, each of whom have only been with us about 6 months, but made a nice course of action and got a lot of accolades from residents. Kathleen Lamport, who's continued to do a lot of things and is working with the ocular and vestibular piece of program that we're introducing down there, as well as Adam Cleary, who's a relatively recent joiner of the group and is coordinating things with Jackie and has done a lot of, and been willing himself to do a lot of things where we felt there was a need. And then lastly, as a report, there is an area that's unfulfilled. I've discussed this with some other people, Jackie and with Anne, and that is in yoga instruction. We lost 2 instructors for yoga classes, one who was terminated and one whose time ran out. She's quite elderly. I don't know Barbara Rebecca so well personally, but I've seen her video and she's quite good at what she does. And so they left and we haven't been able to replace them. I can invite Anne to tell us the story that the difficulty in recruiting yoga instructors. But let me say that although one of our instructors is going to be certified very soon, we have, if you look at the socioeconomic status of our community, it's not difficult to predict that there'd be a lot of people who would like to have a yoga class if we had one. My wife and I attended Bailu's class when he was here, and you had to line up, and if you didn't get here early enough, there'd be no spots left because there's a limitation on the space at that delightful facility upstairs where the yoga instruction is offered. So I think the demand's there. No one's been knocking the door down that I know of, but some people have inquired, is there any progress in getting replacements for those two or additional people? And so I'm gonna mention a little later on about future things, some things I'd like all of us to understand within the responsibility of Anne particularly, and Kelsey now, who's going to be working with her, in terms of managing the staff and what the various routes are. It's more complicated than it sounds like. So I'll leave my comments on that until a little later in the deal. Are there any observations or questions you need to ask about that? Those couple of things?
Just, Jackie, what's the status? Nora is certified now?
So Nora is certified now.
Let me just because it's a little bit out of Jackie's at this point. So Nora is certified, right? But she'll be on leave for a while. So we actually have to look at a different model to bring in a yoga instructor, and that's going to take a little work with HR.
Okay.
Because trying to find a full-time has not been successful. Trying to get just part-time doesn't quite work the way we can advertise it now. So we have to do a little work with HR,
Okay.
but I'm kind of have to set that up and get that going.
Good.
So we're working on it. I just wanted to share with you so that it isn't foreign subject to you on the committee. If somebody engages you in conversation, you can say, well, there is a mechanism in place and we're working to rectify that need. Okay. Any correspondence or other announcements that any of you bring to the table today? Okay, that's easy. So it's up to our staff reporters. So, Anne?
On director's reports, I have nothing, except that I do want to emphasize that finding yoga instructors has been the bane of our existence. And so we've kind of went through basically the resources that we have to fill that, and now we're getting creative now and creating something new. So just be patient with that. Hopefully by the next meeting in a couple of months, we'll have something to report back in progress on that. At least we'll have something open and advertised by that time for sure. And then the other thing, which we still don't have the exact date for, is the replastering of the Tice Creek pools. We're still planning September, October, and we should be finalizing the date by the time of our next meeting. And we'll probably have preliminary communications even before that, just so the public is well aware. As I was reminded at planning committee meeting, we want to start early and make sure everybody is well aware that the closure is coming, and to make their plans to use the outdoor pools once we do those closures. But we're looking forward to get that refreshed soon.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good update. Good update. How about the operations report? Jackie, would you like to fill us in a little bit? I mean, the documents are there, but maybe you want to
I can pull it up.
comment on them?
So starting with the staffing updates, so if you visit the Tice Creek or Hillside pools recently in the past 2 weeks, you may have noticed a new face, a new lifeguard. Ellie is our newest staff member, and she brings experience as a youth camp counselor, a peer advisor, in addition to her lifeguarding skills. So soon she'll be joined by 2 more additions in the aquatics team, and as they complete the hiring process. So if you guys visit the pool, be sure to give everybody, any of those new faces, a warm welcome and say hi to them. Going on to programming, the fitness team has been tasked with increasing the amount of free services to the Rossmore residents over the past year. Our attendance for free services has grown from 6,898 in the first half of 2024. And it's grown to 15,417 in the first half of 2025. So we've doubled the amount of attendance for free services at our fitness center. Adam and I have been also coaching and collaborating with the trainers and instructors over the course of the year to develop a variety of classes, workshops, and introduction sessions that not only provide a great workout, but are beneficial to the spirit and provide a pathway to growth as well. We've encouraged the fitness staff to think outside of the box recently. In the confines of a typical gym to suit the challenging or the changing needs of our unique customer base. So by providing workshops, exercise areas dedicated to strengthening and aid Rossmore residents who are struggling with maybe mobility and balance issues, we've seen a significant shift in their confidence as they're gaining tools and motivation to continue their fitness journey. A fun announcement. Camp Rossmore is returning this summer. So activities will be held across many venues to provide resident campers the opportunity to experience areas of Rossmore that they may not have explored yet. Going forward, our goal is to provide a nostalgic camp atmosphere that fosters the growth by building confidence in learning new skills, making connections, and new friends at the same time. And most important, having fun in the process. All of our members of recreation, fitness, and aquatics will be participating as camp leaders during this event. In a wide variety of activities that include exercise, sports, dancing, goofy golf, aquatic games and safety demonstrations, schoolyard and field games, meal preparation, art and mocktails, tie-dye, outdoor runs, and hikes. So overall, it should be a fun time. Going on to operations. So this weekend, we're having alongside Recreation is hosting a Lilo and Stitch Hawaiian pool party at the Hillside Pool during the family swim hours. If any of you are around, I invite you to come up and take a look. There are still spots left in the event if you have grandkids that you want to bring or family members to actually enjoy all the festivities of that event with lunch included. There's some time to purchase a ticket for that. But it will be taking place again during family swim between 11 and 2 o'clock. There'll also be some hula dance and activities that are Hawaiian themed and Lilo and Stitch themed. The weather forecast for this weekend is not alarmingly warm, but we should have comfortable temperature during that event. In the fitness center, the employees have been keeping an eye on maintaining zones designated for certain types of exercise and keeping them free from potential tripping hazards and equipment that don't belong in that zone. And we're trying to deter improper use by relocating them back to the proper zones. We want to stress the importance of maintaining clear pathways and space around the machines to eliminate potential collisions or move into moving parts or injuries. That's part of our safety upkeep of the facility. And then moving on to facility use. For the fitness center, we have 314 brand new clients. We had a shift back to Mondays as being the busiest day. So Mondays and Wednesdays flip-flop. Tuesdays still remain the third busiest day of the week. And as always, the 9 o'clock hour in the morning is the busiest time. Our numbers for orientations, personal trainings are amazingly close, especially for personal training needy clients. We have 204 in both months. And it's been staying pretty consistent. Going on to the fitness center visits by the day of the week. Our lowest happened to be on Mother's Day, so that's understandable. I'm sure a lot of people were out of town and tending to their mothers and showering them with love. In June, also our lowest day happened to be Father's Day weekend. That's very understandable. And then going on to the busiest times of the day, still remains 9 a.m. in the morning for both months. It's kind of, in June, we've had a little bit of an increase all the way through 11 o'clock hour. It's kind of rounded out. And so people are staying a little bit longer in there. And we've also added a few more class times in those hours that people are staying for, or doing 2 back-to-back classes or whatnot, or just doing their own workout. On to the Aquatics and their facility usage. So we had 3,815 total visits to the dollar pool. 125 of those, or 24 of those were guests. And then the side pool had a total of 3,449 total visits. Hillside had 1,059 guests, and of which 580 of them were adults and 479 were children. For the Hillside daily visits, our peak in May happened to be Mother's Day weekend. So I'm guessing on the flip side, they came to the pool, all those people that didn't go to the fitness center that day. They came to the pool and enjoyed the pool and had a nice day out. Our lowest attended day was that following Monday, but it also happened to be a very cloudy and rainy day, so I'm sure not a lot of people wanted to stay in the pools this day. In June, our lowest attended was the 10th, and it was very cloudy that day, and the air temperatures didn't rise above 64 degrees. The highest attended was the 18th, and that was a very hot day. It got up to 91 degrees that day in the mid-afternoon. And going by visits to the time of day, so our busiest times at Hillside Pool in May was the 1 o'clock hour. And then as we get farther into the summer, the days kind of are still getting longer. Like and in June, the highest peak was at 2 p.m. So. At dollar, the days of leave visits, so the lowest was an attendance of 12 on that second Monday. It was also cloudy and rainy that day. And our highest attendance of 109 on the last day of May was a hot day at 91 degrees outside, so everyone was trying to cool off. In June, the second Wednesday of the month, we had only 20, and that was down in the lower 50s and 60s most of the day. Our highest attended day was 110, and that was a warmer day again, peaking in the upper 80s. And as far as the use by day,
Jeez, you're weird these 2 months. Usually they always look the same.
I think it really all comes down to the weather pattern. It's been very erratic and back and forth.
Yeah.
So that spike you see, and as the days are getting longer, or it's staying lighter out longer in the day. So we're seeing a lot more people coming in at that 4 o'clock hour, 5 o'clock hour, and just trying to cool down. So And so that spikes mostly due to the temps peaking in the later afternoon.
This time of the year, I notice a lot of acquaintances of mine and people I play tennis with, they are off doing things, traveling and doing family things because kids are out of school. Do you see that reflected in the overall usage?
So I think most of the schools, they don't get out till the last week of May. And then there's graduation parties and things. So the first couple weeks of true summer, there might not be a whole lot of attendance, but come about mid-May and on, we've seen an increase in people using the
Yeah,
pools
yeah.
because they're all back in town and or visiting their grandparents here.
On the one hand, you've got people going out to be with their offspring, but
Mhm.
you've got youngsters coming in to visit
Right, yeah.
grandparents, and so they show up at the pool and so on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Any questions for Jackie?
Another question for you. It has to do with the 102 cutoff in the Tice pool, which totally makes sense, and it gets super hot in there. I wonder though, I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, I noticed that like when Hillside gets too hot and it's occasionally closed, that it will reopen later. But I don't know that we do that with Tice, and I'm just wondering if I'm right about Hillside, and then my question is, what about Tice?
So the outdoor pools, they won't close unless there's a maintenance issue, if something breaks or the chlorine, because in hotter weather, it evaporates the chemicals quicker. So sometimes it can't keep up, especially if there's a heavy load of people in the pool.
Yeah.
Sometimes the system can't keep up with it. So there may be times that it has to close because
Yeah, because whatever.
the chlorine level's low or something,
Sure.
something's not functioning correct, and they have to get it back up to the level, appropriate level or sort of sanitary. They won't close the pools otherwise. What happens when it's becomes 102 weather out there, the lifeguards will retract from lifeguarding. But they'll be staying on duty and rotating through the pools and making sure the temp checks are being done and doing a quick survey of the pool, making sure everybody's okay. But they'll be retracted from that. The Tice pool will only close if it's projected to, if the indoor air temperature is projected to be 102 degrees and is projected to keep rising. So on the longest part of the summer, some days it keeps climbing up until 6 p.m. As the summer will get shorter and the days will get shorter, then it will back down, and it's less likely we'll have to close unless it's dramatically hot early in the morning.
Yeah,
So
that makes lots of sense. Yeah, thank you. So I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I noticed there are more mats around in the Tice area, the Tice pool area. And I still notice people running. And, I saw it yesterday. It's like, I'm just wondering, like, I know we talked about, could we have a sign or could we do something, because they're still doing it. And I think what we've talked about, and I know one of the lifeguards talked with me about this, is that the lifeguards they don't want to have to say anything to the residents, and I completely understand that. But, we've got a safety issue there.
Well, she can check in with the guards to make sure they absolutely should be saying that, whether the resident complies,
Yeah.
right? We know that, but we need to,
Understood.
if you could just check into that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll find that out.
yeah, they can always, I mean, I think the thing is, like, I know none of the residents really want to be called out if they're doing something wrong or something like that, but they're able to get up off their stand and walk over to them, say, you need to walk for your safety.
It's just so dangerous, but that's why it's like,
Yes.
it really bothers me when I see it, because I just feel like it is just a big fall waiting to happen. And
Stopping the running was the most difficult thing and the most frequent need when I work with children's programs in the pool. And they get so excited, so they're not malicious necessarily,
sure.
but they get excited.
Yeah.
But with adults, I think if you're right, rather do not do what I used to do, call them out on it.
Sure,
Hey,
yeah.
you, kind of stuff. That would not work. But getting down off the chair and getting over there when a moment's right and saying, please don't do that because there's a risk here and we don't want you to get injured.
Yeah, absolutely, that is one. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts for Jackie before she steps down? Thank you, Jackie. That's quite complete as usual. Yeah, terrific. Let's move on to the next item, which is talking about our subcommittee group. Not actually a committee yet, because it's, but we want to move in that direction. Anne has got some ideas about that. Do you want to share those, Anne, that you?
Yes, yeah, and so it kind of goes into the unfinished business with the soon-to-be changed Wall of Fame program. So I'll pass these out while I'm chatting and catch up the new members. So you're fitness center users, correct? So there is a Wall of Fame that's in there. And so over the last several meetings, what happened was our communications director, Ann Peterson, came and just kind of suggested that maybe we consider rebranding the Wall of Fame to kind of align more with what it has evolved into. So Mary Lou has been the interviewer, author, the keeper of the program. And it really has been celebrating people that we've just been kind of saying informally here, kind of the everyday users that have really used fitness to improve their quality of lives. And there was a discussion about telling those stories as a way to encourage others, inspire others. And there was some really great stories shared here. Somebody shared about, I think, Mary, you were talking about a woman you noted that after a stroke, like just the small improvements are really Herculean efforts when you think about it, and those should be celebrated as much as the person that is in a master's, swim or run program or something like that. So we've had a prior iteration of this proposed nomination form. And the conversation at last month was really kind of cool because Brian was talking about you were the one that was really talking about emphasizing, and not only the fitness center, but we have the clubs that have different fitness activities too. Not only the ones that are even located in the fitness center, but that use other spaces. And then there was some really great comments about the way we framed and kind of encouraged others by making positive statements. And so
And then make quotes too.
yes. So Mary Lou and Catherine were kind enough to take a look at this draft and give some suggestions before bringing it to you today. So we want to talk about this. Then we want to talk about the name of the program. And I did draw the names that were kind of passed around a couple of meetings ago and added a couple more to the mix. And then lastly would be to consider, and Barry can just kind of pick people or us volunteers, if there's a subcommittee that wants to meet, and either they make the decision or we can kind of set what the new process is. Do you want to bring them here and talk about them and nominate them? But those can be determined by the committee as well. So the first thing to talk about is the actual form. So I can't talk and run Zoom at the same time. This is my let's see, so on this. Okay. This is in the way. So I gotta move my toolbar so I can see what I'm doing.
When it says that nominees must agree and be recognized and write their statement, when the person is nominating them, I guess that they haven't really spoken maybe with the person that they're nominating. Is that correct?
So I think this is all up for discussion. So it could be, I'm trying to find my attachment. There you go. So everybody can follow along from home. Here we go. Okay. So the idea of this was, so it says nominees must be agreed to be recognized, and it could either be and approve of their statement or something, but someone mentioned that after somebody was recognized on the wall, they said that they didn't want to be recognized on the wall. And so it kind of puts the body that nominated them, whatever, in this position. And sometimes people, after getting attention, they'll change their mind. So it's kind of saying really don't agree to this. Don't feel compelled to agree to this if you're not comfortable with it. We don't want anybody to feel You know, we don't want people to feel that they have undue attention to them. Some people just don't like that, and that's totally okay. So we wanted to figure out something, and we could massage that, like nuance it a little bit. So it must be maybe agree, like nominees must be agreed to be recognized and just leave it at that. Sure. We could just make a form. Would that work?
Yeah.
Say that again, Anne, they must be recognized, and I didn't hear the rest.
Just, maybe it should just say nominees must agree to be
I
recognized.
think that's.
Keep it simple.
Let's do that.
And start there.
Yeah.
Because if you tell people they have to write their own statement, many people will say, okay, it's fine to be recognized, but I'm not writing anything about myself.
Any other thoughts on the nomination form?
No, and I wondered, I know you're gonna write the article in the Baltimore News and everything, and I wonder where this should be placed so that it's convenient for people to get a hold of it. Would it be the front desk or on the
Yeah,
wall?
I think we would, I think we would place them certainly at the front desk. We could keep them in the lobby here. Sometimes people even will go to I don't know if they will keep things at the desk of the Rossmore News, but I mean, we can think of different locations for them at the pools.
Small thing, but you
Yes.
might want to say, how does this person inspire the fitness community? Please check all that apply.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
I think this will really be positive, because before, I was always seeking out from the trainers or people that I knew, and this will just get the whole.
Yeah, you did really good. You
No.
did really well.
No, but.
For a team of one.
There are people in the clubs that I don't know anything about,
Yeah.
and this will really
Yeah.
be excellent. And more from the aquatics too, which, I'm not that familiar with, so.
Now, from an organizational point of view, are you happy to continue doing that and get some counsel from Kathy, if you will?
Sure. And
Or
then,
should we make a committee of two or three?
I think it might be good to have a committee.
You can have up
know.
to 3.
Yeah, I had 2 or 3 people on it, I think so, and then I only have another year, and then it'll be,
Yeah, you
That's the
following out.
torch.
Check something, right,
Sure,
right.
and I'd be glad to do it for the next year. But somebody else, if someone else really wanted to do it, like Joni, I know her really well, if she wanted to do it, or, I would say, fine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm glad to do it.
Well, I can nominate Joni, pending on her
Sure.
agreement with that, because I think
She
she's
might get some new blood in there, you know what I
diversified
mean? It's always
enough
good to have fresh
in her
ideas.
interest that she would
Sure.
be able to grasp what we're aiming
We
at.
share the same mutual, so
Oh,
we
do you?
know each other pretty
Oh,
well,
okay.
so that would be great.
Well, I'll be sure to get that to
Okay,
her.
great.
Just what
So
about,
we got Mary Lou, potentially Joan. Did I miss anybody else?
does anybody else want to do it?
We have to see if anybody here would like to step in.
Yeah, and I was gonna invite Gary to join, and because it'll be a way to get some immersion in where we are.
Okay.
On this whole business of honoring certain kinds of situations that might differ from some other recognitions.
Sure.
Okay,
Very
thank you,
nice.
Gary, for accepting that.
I would also
Oh,
volunteer.
okay, okay.
Okay, so we can, just, we can only have 3.
Well, we'll have to Gary because,
So it's Gary, because he's here.
yeah, he can be there.
So Joni was,
Joni can be an extraordinary. She
There,
can
she-
not be part of the committee, but her counsel can be encouraged.
Yeah, she'll be good.
So it's,
It's
sorry,
Gary, Catherine, and me,
okay.
and then with Joni and consultants.
There we go,
Okay.
that's it, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Now, did you want to take a moment to talk about some of these
some of these
working
names.
titles? Yeah. I guess we can all see them on the board there.
Yeah, try that.
Can I ask, are we the decision-making group, or does the name need to
You
go
are the
to board?
decision-making group.
I think now that we have a committee, it's more manageable if you are the decision-making group, but I'm asking for input from the group at
We
large.
just have to go to the board.
Yeah.
No, the committee can do
Okay,
this, 'cause
that
this
was,
is,
yeah, thank you, that's
Yeah.
my question.
Yep.
I like several of these, but one of them I really like is fitness journeys. Because fitness is not just a fait accompli, it's, you know, you have to keep working at it. And in the past, if we were honoring somebody who was just, boy, they were great, this way we're honoring somebody who's on the way. And they might already be great too, but they're on the way. Anyway, that's my.
Good point. Good point. Any other input for the members of the committee to consider? Persuade?
Well, fitness for life, I guess you could put that in there. I mean, that's a journey
I like
too.
that one too, yeah.
But those two, I think, are probably the most descriptive of what we hope to convey.
I like that one. That was my other favorite.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Any further comments to contribute to the committee? Yes, go ahead.
I also like fitness journeys, and I said that, I think, in my note to the two of you. The one thing I would ask we consider is adding in front of it Rossmore Fitness
Yeah.
Journeys.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's good.
I like that too.
I like that. I like that a lot. We could almost vote on that here.
Well, I was gonna say, you could make the decision
Yeah,
here. and
I
then
think we
that's-
can make that
and then
decision
we
if
can
the board,
work
you
with
know,
the-
just would like to vote, yes or no.
If you'd like to do that, that's fine.
On Rossmore Fitness.
Because if you're
Journey.
gonna publish this, you have to have the right name on it.
Exactly. Well, we can get it out faster, yeah.
Right. So I move that we have the name Rossmore Fitness Journey for honoring people who are going to be, you know.
Somebody else will second that?
A second.
Yep, thank you, Cynthia. So if you agree with that motion, raise your hand.
We do it that way, or
Disagree?
would you rather roll call here?
This group is so in alignment. This is great.
Well noted.
I guess I'll get a vote anyway.
Nice, okay.
Well, that puts you on your way, it's great.
Yeah.
And there were some other good ideas that were shared there too.
A lot
I
of
like
great
that,
ideas.
yeah. Well done. Let's see, we're up now to unfinished business. I've got that, new business. And this is over to Deborah Rose.
All right, so, let's see here, if you could, perfect. I'm gonna share my screen. We are going to dive into your committee charter. And really, this is a helpful review I do on an annual basis to remind the committee their purpose, their goals, and their parameters of why you're here. What is this committee meeting? So the Aquatics Fitness Advisory Committee Charter's purpose and responsibility is that you're first and foremost advisory to the Rossmore Walnut Creek Board. You evaluate Rossmore Walnut Creek fitness and aquatic facilities, programs, and equipment to provide a safe and enjoyable environment in view of current and projected usage. You strive for a broad mix of programs, services, and equipment to meet the various needs and lifestyles of residents. You monitor guest and caregiver usage of fitness and aquatics and make recommendations regarding guest use policies and rules. You assist clubs and organizations in utilizing the fitness and aquatic facilities, and you publicize available programs, services, and equipment. You also evaluate annual budgets, including revenue generating proposals. So that's coming up probably shortly here. Review rules and guidelines for use of the fitness and aquatic facilities and recommend any amendments to the policy committee as needed. So that's another committee that we have that before it gets to the board, they kind of review any of your recommendations. Address user concerns about the fitness and aquatic facilities, equipment, and programs. Serve in an advisory capacity for capital improvement projects at the request of the board. And you review statistics documenting facility visits as you had earlier today with Jackie's reports. And then those get forwarded on to the board. So why is it important to follow your charter? So really, a charter serves as that foundation, that outlining your purpose, your scope, authority, and the procedures. It's compliance, really, with our legal and governance standards. So our Brown Act ensures transparency and public involvement in these meetings of legislative bodies. So that publishing of meeting agendas, right? So we're following along those guidelines. The agendas also are following your purpose and your scope of authority. The Corporations Code also specifies rules regarding the governance of advisory committees. So you're following all of that just by following this charter. Maintaining consistency and compliance so that everyone is in line with the activities and discussions during these committee meetings. And you're also promoting transparency and accountability to the public and to the committee members themselves. And it facilitates orderly and efficient meetings, especially when you're kind of maybe flailing about a certain subject topic and you say, wait a minute, we don't have to decide on this. It's not in our scope under our charter. So that's another way we can kind of move on. But it enhances stakeholder trust and participation. And following the charter really maintains consistency and adherence to all of the important matters such as legal standards and ensuring the committee operates within its defined scope. Any questions about your charter? It's pretty clear, right? Okay.
Oh, well documented, thank you.
And then next up, we've got just a brief overview of the parliamentarian procedures. So if you've ever been in meetings, you know that some of them have basic procedures such as you raise your hand to be acknowledged. You heard today a motion being made. So all of these are parliamentarian procedures. So really, why do we use parliamentarian procedures? Well, one, it's required in our RWC bylaws. It's really to help facilitate that transaction of business during these committee meetings, to cooperate and to promote cooperation and harmony, and to ensure that all members have equal rights, privileges, and obligations, and ensure the majority has the right to decide, but also the minority also are protected. So, and that's where the voting comes into play. Role of the chair, simply you call the meeting to order, you maintain order and decorum, ensures adherence to the agenda, and you adjourn the meeting. So really this is following Robert's Rules of Order. A little overview of decorum in meetings, addressing the chair, speak only when recognized. This is really a formal way of running meetings. It seems like you guys are all in a friendly way that you can interact with one another instead of addressing solely to the chair. Typically, very formal committees say, Chair, I'd like to address Mary Lou's comment. Can you please ask her to repeat herself? It's very formal. You don't have to do that, obviously. And then debating guidelines, just really focus on the topic that you're debating, not the person who brought it up or made the motion for it. If you don't agree with it, debate why you don't agree with that particular subject matter. So we're keeping that decorum. Making motions. If you've never made a motion, it's very easy. You raise your hand, you obtain the floor, you state the motion clearly, concisely, especially for the secretary, Mary Lou, to write it down. And motions always require a second, and then the floor is open for debating whether or not you agree or disagree on that motion made. And then only one motion at a time. That primary action is to be discussed and fulfilled to its end completion, whether it fails or passes, and then another motion can be made. There are 3 options if you want to amend a motion, and it's simply you can strike out a word, add a word, or do both. So many individuals think, okay, I'm gonna point you out here, Mary Lou. Mary Lou makes a motion for $500,000 for hot chocolate at the fitness center. And Harold seconds. I'm just doing this activity.
It's fine.
Okay. And Gary says, you know what? I really think we need coffee at the fitness center, not hot chocolate, right? And Cynthia says, well, I'd really like an oak tree. You know? Cynthia says, I move to amend the motion that we spend $500,000 on an oak tree. Well, that's obviously not keeping it germane. And a new motion should be passed outside of that $500,000 for hot chocolate. You get the point, right? Okay, so 3 things you can do to amend the motion. And then if you could, for Mary Lou's sake, if there is a motion, there's some common mistakes of someone, maybe Amatola will have a really great structure of the action before the committee. And someone shouts, so moved. And someone says, second. But Mary Lou goes, wait, I wasn't prepared. I don't know what was that motion, right? So sometimes it's helpful just to restate that motion in full. Typical meeting agendas you'll see in Assembly. It's typically in this order. It's always calling the meeting to order, approval of minutes, the members forum, and then unfinished and new business, and then the adjournment. That's the basics of our meetings, but you can add content as the committee or chair sees fit. So really, why do we want to focus on adhering to these agenda item requirements and really I want to explain the importance of publishing committee agendas. One, it's really to be transparent. It follows our bylaws, it follows corporations codes, the Brown Act. There's quite a few things. We want to make sure that everyone, not only in the public, but also the committee, knows what's on the agenda, is prepared to speak to the items on the agenda, and the public has an opportunity to speak to the items that maybe they agree or disagree on. So these are all the policies, and they're in your packet. I won't bore you with these. Corporations Code, all of these, Robert's Rules of Order. So another thing a lot of committees don't understand is whatever's on the agenda, that's the only thing that can be discussed, right? You can certainly say, hey, I want to discuss this particular item in detail. Let's put it on the agenda for next month, right? So one, it allows staff to gather the information and or form thoughts and allow that public transparency and commentary. So items not on the agenda cannot be discussed. So that $500 hot chocolate item I just brought up, we can't discuss it until we put it on the agenda for next month. And if there are no items under unfinished or new business, the only things that you can discuss outside of the previous items for approval is items for future business, right? So other than that, you've got to adjourn the meeting. So there's not a lot of wishy-washy stuff deciding to hold a conversation about X, Y, and Z. Any questions?
I have one question about people who speak at the forum, that come in. What is the rule or the procedure for getting back to them? Or is there always a follow-up, or I don't know how that works, but I have a suggestion.
Absolutely, yes. So that's really up to Amatola and the chair to have a conversation. The committee at large can say, can we have staff follow up on that inquiry later? Or maybe can we put this on the agenda for next month to make sure that this gets touched, addressed, something, or can staff follow up on that? We don't answer them.
No, I know not
Communicate
here.
that,
Right?
I know, but sometimes it's answered during the meeting. If the topic's already on the agenda that they have questions or concerns about, sometimes you can weave it into, answer their question into that agenda line item. But yeah, if there's a question, concern, they want that $500 hot chocolate item, certainly you can request that of Barry and Ann, and they'll get that on the agenda.
So we can have some voice in that. I didn't realize that.
Absolutely. 2 weeks prior to every meeting, you have an opportunity to reach out to Barry and to Amatola and say, I'm interested in adding this item. And really what their job is to communicate, well, this is an operational item, or this is outside of the purview of your charter, or it is part of your charter. Let's get it on the agenda. So that's how that works. So communicate with Barry and Amatola, and they'll be very clear on those
And I
guidelines.
just wasn't certain what all the committees how it worked. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Otherwise, that's my spiel.
Thank you, Deborah. I just want to ask, did you want some people to sign documents today? Conflict of interest kinds of
If
things?
anybody has a need to complete this, if anyone has not, I have blank forms here. I think I'm missing some individuals, but I need them by tomorrow if possible. So you can get these to me in person, drop them off my desk, the white mailbox, by email, by ship, by bird, anything, anyway, but they're here if you need them.
And does the fact that we filled one in previously continue, or do they need to be renewed?
They need to be renewed as the form says, it needs to be as each new committee year. So this is your first meeting,
Yes.
your first committee year. So it's basically from July to the June 30th, right? So it clicks over. So yes, a new one
So
every year.
everybody needs to sign.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You could leave those at the end of our meeting. We'll maneuver and sign, or at least I will, and maybe some other people too.
Absolutely.
They're not too complicated, but it's a matter of protocol to do it. Well, thank you again for that complete introduction, and good for everybody to be hearing that for the second or third time. So our next meeting, before we get to that, let me make some comments about considerations that I'd like to see us hear and address for the next meeting. I'd like to know more about the staffing formula. Ann and I have talked about things incidentally, but never talked about the actual big picture. So for example, I'd like to know how we choose people to do video presentations on Rossmore television. I'd like to know how the massage therapy people, who are they and what kind of a contractual arrangement do they have, and how does it relate to the staff who are doing all the coaching and leading classes down there. What's the difference between resident classes where the residents pay for the class or not pay for the class, even if it's a similar class? It's not a problem. I just want to understand it better. And lastly, how do we work within the staffing budget? For example, if a full-time person leaves or retires, can we take that unit of budget and make it a couple of part-time positions? Are they tools that we can use to better provide the needs that we identify for our programs?
Did you get?
I
Deborah?
did.
Oh, excellent, because
I will get
listening
this
and I
over
couldn't
to
write.
you
Okay,
for
thank
your
you.
review.
All right.
But if I missed anything, Barry, you let me know.
I shall do it.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are no other issues to add, we've got the next meeting is on, the next meeting is on the date of September 11th. So we hope to be here again at 1:30 on September the 11th, which is a Thursday.